Welcome to the One-on-One Podcast with your host, Juan Ayala.
Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One Podcast. I'm your host, as always. Make sure to check out the show on social media at the One-on-One Podcast on all social media platforms, tjojp.com. Make sure to get your Homunculus Owner's Manual, Occultist Monday, Paranormality Magazine subscription. I'm on the June, one of the issues. I'm on the cover of it. Just find it. Links down in the description. Patreon.com/the One-on-One Podcast. And also, I am streaming every Tuesday, twitch.tv/One-on-One Podcast. For those interested in that, every Tuesday night. And joining us after a little bit, almost, a year, almost 2 years. Once again, the one and only. Can I call you by your name, bro, or do you just want Waters Above?
Whatever you want, man. Waters is good.
Waters, welcome back, dude. What's up, man?
Oh, man. I'm doing better every day, and I cannot believe that it's almost been 2 years.
Yeah, it's been too long.
When we first got connected, I think we might have even done like an impromptu sort of podcast roundtable with a couple other incredible minds. And yeah, man, it's just wild. Time flies.
Time does fly. Yeah, you're a harder guy to get a hold of, but you're killing it, dude. You're growing, and you've blown up, and you're gonna get that plaque soon, bro. 100K soon here.
A lot of people, I don't know if you've been following along with my work lately, but a lot of people have this assumption that as the channel would grow, that I would start to like hold back what I'm about. And it's funny because like I feel like I'm one. I don't want to play the comparison game, but it's just been getting spicier and spicier, live stream after live stream, and we figured out a way to talk and get the truth out without any issues. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's something that should inspire other content creators, because you can speak exactly what it is that's on your mind, but you just got to be fancy about it, because it's unfortunate to hear some incredible channels getting taken down left and right, but been able to stay in posture and keep the powerful message going. And I know you're about the same.
Yeah. So the can you plug your channel? Where can people find you at? And where
Sure. Watersabove.com is what I got going on over there. You could check out everything, and just check out my YouTube channel, Waters Above on YouTube. In the description box of any YouTube video, you'll find more links, but that's a good starting point, kind of get an idea of what I'm up to. And every Saturday, so tomorrow, I guess this will be recorded, but every Saturday I do a live stream if you want to come hang out and talk about things like what we're going to be talking about today, likely, because I do have videos on my YouTube channel that are dedicated to cryptocurrency and investing and all of that jazz. But if you just want to have a stream of consciousness and talk about life, talk about this simulacrum, then those are my live streams on the weekends.
The last video you and I did is actually one of my most popular videos on my channel, and I wanted to ask you, because you touch on a good point when it comes to talking alchemically. I call it, shrouding the knowledge in a sort of certain way, but still to where people can understand what you're saying, because it feels like a lot of content creators nowadays, especially in this sort of circle, the truther circle, if you want to call it that, they kind of boast about getting taken down, and they almost wear it as like a badge of honor. And I'm like, why are you're only hurting yourself? Because what a better way to exist on an ecosystem that would otherwise nuke you at the first chance that they got. That's what they want. And you're self-sabotaging by going balls to the wall straight up, like, oh, well, it's this, and this. And they hit on all the key points that they know pisses off the system. And these people, we're already shadow banned. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to get any more shadow banned than we are. But people take it and they're just like, yeah, I got taken off of X, Y, Z. It's like, dude, you're only hurting yourself, because at the end of the day, you got to go where the people are at. The people aren't on Rumble. The people aren't on Odyssey. The people aren't anywhere. They're on YouTube, Facebook, all the biggest platforms. But people wear that as like look at me. Look how huge my dick is now that I got banned off of YouTube. It's like, dude, no. Learn to... This is what they were doing in the 16th century with all these alchemical texts, writing in language that only the initiated, which would be the people who are into the truth, would understand. You know what I mean? Otherwise, they would be killed and burned at the stake.
Exactly, bro. This is why I vibe with you, because I know it's exactly it. Like, you need to be an alchemist, and we all are. I call us architects. You're not Neo, being Neo. Neo took a pill. He didn't even ask Morpheus first, where'd you get those pills from, bro?
Morpheus' face when I take both pills and I pop them in at the same time. What happens then?
Yeah, I should have asked Morpheus. Morpheus, can you take one too? We'll cheers each other. But like, no, for real, like there is this flex mentality, I feel, in the truth. I don't want to like isolate the truther movement. It's just, it tends to be
they're a bunch of bitches, bro. Go ahead. Do it. They're a bunch of pussies. You know what I'm saying?
It's just the there's this sense of arrogance that comes with the whole being taken down thing. And, I mean, even with one of the key words that I've sort of become popular for, like Gematria, for instance, it is shadow banned, and there's not a lot of content out there on it. And of course you could see a couple of presentations from like rabbis and such, but in general, there is only a couple of content creators that are out there that are tapping into that keyword. And unfortunately, I'm not trying to be negative about it, but it seems to be the delivery of what this whole gematria or decoding thing is sort of it holds this essence of, it's all bad guys, it's all this negative and force, the elites, the Illuminati, whomever, that are coding our worlds like on purpose to be. And I just don't look at the reality that way. And I think me and you had a conversation about this the last time, probably right after we did that podcast with Donut and a couple of dudes, and you brought up an author. I don't remember his name, but he said, you read a quote from him.
Yes.
I think I read it, and I got it from a live stream you did or something, a presentation you did. I don't remember the dude's name. Maybe you could remind me, but just to get through the point, it's like, he said it perfectly about the not actually initiated so-called enlightened being that has this anger in them, thinking that everything that's happening on this world stage is orchestrated by this group of bad guys. In actuality, like, it's so much broader than this. There's people in your own neighborhoods, in your own community, that are, you can literally look up on a register how many there are just in your community. They're not elites. They're just Cheeto dust fingertips, losers.
Neckbeards.
And you got to be aware of this. It's like at the end of it all, a lot of the time, all of that just exists for blackmail. A lot of people that are celebrities and famous, like, they're not really about that. It's that they enter that realm through those gates, and then it's all just for blackmail. But I'm not trying to defend anybody here. I'm just saying that it gets exhausting when people show up on the camera and they start just being so belligerent and cursing and so angry about people they've never met, that they do not know, that they will never get to know, that they'll never shake hands with. And then they make these assumptions, and then when they get their channel taken down, they're bitching and moaning. It's really strange.
And this is something I wanted to talk to you about, right? Because we have a hot topic right now. But, right, Gematria, the way I've learned to understand it was, again, that religion, Kabbalah and a lot of this, the more esoteric side of Christianity, I guess you could call it, right? Rosicrucianism, whatever you want to call it. And I was actually talking about this on an episode that I did yesterday or the day before, where I was talking about Frances Yates and how, you know, her work, she's not very well known. People know mainly P. Hall Moore, but Frances Yates really introduced what they call the Yates thesis or the Yates paradigm, where she presented this grand narrative, which is super interesting. I'm going to be doing a presentation on her here soon for patrons. And so the Christianity, the religion that we're presented nowadays is very watered down. It's not esoteric anymore, and it's something that's been, right, kind of going against what you're saying, controlled by this large group, this large narrative. Now, if you want to call them the Freemasons, if you want to call them the Illuminati, whatever. But it feels like the doctrines that we're being handed now are taking us further away from this esoteric side of reality, of understanding. And it's just, now it's a brokered experience, right? Religion. That's why I say religion. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I believe in a source. I believe in God. And it's like, believe in God, but don't believe in this man-made construct of whatever. It's dude, it's MK Ultra through the occult is what religion is. And I was actually having a conversation with Donna on the phone the other day, where it's like, so many people there's people who will pull over in traffic to pray because they've been so programmed since the beginning. And it's like, you're doing a ritual every single day, you know, every single day at a certain time of day. And it's like, those are the physics of subtle energy. Now, how are you 100% sure that you're worshiping the God that you've always been told? How I tell everybody on our money, right? You do crypto. In God we trust. What God? Everyone assumes automatically it's the Judeo-Christian God, you know, Jesus, the Holy Trinity, whatever. But you don't know what these guys were up to. You don't know what they were worshiping or who, right? What I call miscellaneous God, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with that, but people are following it so blindly. Right. And I say all that to say that Gematria, the way I've come to understand it, is a way of, right, the initiated, because only those that are old enough to read the literature, I think it's like over 40 years old or whatever, but once you're initiated to understand those teachings is when you're able to apply it. And Gematria does have this sort of mystical interpretation of encoding things to influence a higher power, almost like an alchemical way of influencing reality. Now, I think alchemy is just another technology that you're able to use to tap into that sort of power and manipulate those energies, right? So Gematria used the words to encapsulate this numerical value in some sort of way, to use it as a talisman. In alchemy, you're manipulating matter to affect reality on a higher level or on a different dimension. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, because right now what's really hot in the media is, did the numbers predict that amount of baby oil, dude? What's going on? What the was the baby oil for? Who needs that much baby oil? What's going on?
You know, I mean, can't we just let a man have a good time?
But at the expense of others, dude? How does that work?
Honestly, though, I think it was bottles, and that might be a conspiracy, but I think we're just dealing with the black square on the checkerboard here with the Diddy situation. You know, Epstein was the white square, and I'm not playing the race card here. I'm just like literally getting to the core of it all.
Yeah.
From an alchemical perspective. And like, we're just pawns getting our attention siphoned from us, getting our prana siphoned from us each time we conspire deeper and deeper and deeper into a thing we already know. Like, don't we already know, as a so-called community of people seeking truth, that all the so-called famous celebrities, entertainers, etc., had to pledge to a doctrine, a script that they will be having to play out, as all actors do. Same with politicians. It's like, don't we know this? So it's strange that when these events come around, some people are like, they get into that "I told you so" energy, and then other people are like, oh, now, and this is really what I want to discuss, they now have news to talk about, right? That's a big piece. At the end of the day, the average person wants news. They like something fresh. They like something, it's like a shot of stimuli into the main vein. They want that dopamine spike. And the people who seek so-called truth are no different. They love another thing to come around. And this is just another thing to come around. And I'm quite aware that the so-called elite, the apex predator, they know this. They know both sides. They know that the average person's going to lose their over something very mundane that's going on in politics. But then on the other side, you have the QAnon conspiracy, which is sucking in a whole bunch of people that allegedly found some sort of, golden ticket to the way the order actually works and how things are going to unfold in the future to benefit you. And it's a sickness that people have of like a daddy technology, where either Diddy was somebody's daddy, or Trump is somebody's daddy, or Kamala is someone's daddy, or the World Economic Forum is someone's daddy. It's just like you're trading off that daddy trauma from whatever stage in your life that you've yet to, dive deep and actually sort that out within. But you mentioned something a little bit earlier about religion and the text and how it's watered down. And I actually feel like as a decoder, it's in my best interest to show people how if you just look into Genesis, there's plenty of wisdom there. I'm not saying it's on the surface wisdom, but it's again coded in. It's the way the language is designed through translation, right? So pretty fascinating stuff when you get into Genesis. Even the word Genesis, Jin, Isis, right? Like you start breaking down the words more etymologically, and you get some incredible gems. So when you think of what Isis is from the Egyptian perspective through mythology, a lot of the times you overlook what it actually is representing in this sense. So Jesus, for instance, it represents something, right? I know you are quite aware of this. The average person doesn't get that. They're waiting for this Jesus guy with long hair and a beard who's effectively the image of Caesar Borgia. They're waiting for that guy to come back and turn everyone into zombies or whatever so it's a very strange thing when it just represents you. It represents the avatar. It represents the body. That's all it is. It represents the body. And this is why these infiltrated Catholic rituals are showing you literally what it's about through the eating the cracker and drinking the wine. And people want to, again, the truther community loves to turn everything into something negative, something that's, evil. And they say, oh, look, it's a cannibal ritual. It's a cannibalistic ritual. But they're just showing you what this represents, what the idea is. It is flesh. That's all Jesus Christ represents. And you become the Son of God when you open up your bandwidth of perception to what God is, which is energy, frequency, and vibration. It's the code that runs everything. Have this awareness that you're in a simulacrum or a matrix or whatever you want to call it, and then it reveals to you what this physical experience is called being a human, which is trapped in identity. And this is why I think it's pretty obvious that we're at the final stages of a transition in ages, whatever you believe, because they're attacking identity the most. And now we're back in this kind of World War III situation where it's now this religion thing. And you see how quickly people have flipped from being pro one thing to now against the thing. And it's amazing. Like, I think the apex predator is so sophisticated at this chess game that they're doing, because they're getting all people to be divided, even the community that's seeking truth.
Yeah, check this meme out, dude. This meme cracked me up when I saw it. It's Diddy all lubed up, slipping through the bars on his cell. And they put the scene from the Terminator. So, yeah, for those not watching the video, check it out on YouTube, one-on-one podcast. But, dude, that's why I don't call it a community, because it feels like even sharing the information, which I've said this time and time again, it's always been about information. It will always continue to be about information. And there's this new movie, right? Because you're talking about attacking identity. Some people are confused as to what they are, who they are, how they identify. If they identify as a homunculus or homunculus, whatever they identify as. And I started this movie yesterday, and I turned it off because it was kind of lame, on Netflix. It's called Uglies, and it's about a society that everyone is perfect. It's a utopia after the world was mined of all its resources, fossil fuels, et cetera, et cetera. And at the age of 16, everyone goes through an operation, and this operation elevates you to your most perfect form, feature-wise, eye color, hair color. Again, very Aryan kind of sort of way.
Yeah.
The problem is it happens at your 16th birthday. So all the people who don't have the operation up until they're 16 before they're initiated have to live on the outer skirts of this society, and they have this utopia city, and in the skyline you can see it. They can see it from their prison cell pretty much. The fireworks go off every night. And again, I didn't get any further than that, but it's almost like what you're talking about, like almost like the new Atlantis sort of thing, bro. Like this utopia where they want to get to. And I've always said this because people are so, you mentioned the occult virus, some sort of thing, because this is something that, what the hell is his name? The guy that wrote with Downard.
Yeah, you got to remind me of that author, because I would even get one of his books, because he's definitely tapped in. He's definitely tapped into the technology of belief and the way that we all go from one thing to the next thing to the next. And like the ultra, elite, if you will, they have
Michael A. Hoffman.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
He's the one that talked about the dopamine rush, the next biggest thing, which is what everyone, dude, I saw somebody, no shade to anybody, but I saw somebody breaking down the gematria of the hurricane. And I'm like, not everything is a conspiracy to me, dude. Sometimes, even though I think Occam's razor is a psyop, but I don't think that everything is a conspiracy. But it's like hurricanes have been around for thousands of years, right? It's been a thing. And just because one so happens to match the track of another one, well, it's been like that for, again, thousands of years. 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, when hurricanes were hitting Florida or whatever was Florida, was the government creating them then? Was there gematria influencing the hurricane then? And to what ends? Right? To what means exactly is there? Right? Well, what is the gematria? Because a lot of these guys will present it.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you what the fuck it's for.
Yeah, I gotta admit, and I'm glad that you brought this up, and I'm fine with being vulnerable. Like, I've been through that too. I've been one of those, and I have done my best to explain why the connections even matter. So just one example really quickly, because I think this touches on what you're saying. We had recently a hurricane in the States, Hurricane Francine. All right. The only reason this even mattered to me at all was because throughout this whole year of decoding and prep that I did from 2023 leading into this particular year, I brought up France a lot and the significance of it, and how Kansas City's flag, before they started changing it, which was quite recently actually, it was literally the flag of France for the city of Kansas City, Missouri. Now, Francine's path went towards that, but it landed in, I believe, it started in... So you're looking at Helene right now. But anyways, with Hurricane Francine
2024?
Yeah, it just happened maybe last month. But
last month.
It was through Louisiana. So Louisiana, named after King Louis, a French king. And then it went through St. Louis, again, after another French king. This was all dealing with France. And then we had the Olympics in Paris, France. We also had this great American eclipse, which effectively ended in Paris, France. So Paris and France have been a big part of the theme. The color scheme have also been a big part of the theme. And in my decodes throughout the year, I was showing how there was some other significant events that were popping up that followed this pattern, such as the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse, right? So you have another France connection. Of course, the name is Francis, but we all know the etymology. We all know where this is. The ritual of that, you could break it down in Gematria. You could believe it or not believe it. It is what it is. But the sequence of the way it was going down, in my opinion, is telling a story. The same way in our Hollywood movies, they show you the sequence of events as they go down, like Leave the World Behind, for instance. It's telling you a story. It doesn't mean it's all going to happen in that movie as it did in real life. It doesn't mean that if we get one blackout in some small little town in the middle of nowhere that somehow Leave the World Behind was predicting something. It's the same mess that people do with The Simpsons. But I am saying that everyone is eventually going to catch on to whatever event happens, and then they're going to come to people like me. And this isn't me justifying anything, but I'm just letting you know where I'm at. They're going to come to me and be like, Waters, what's going on here? What is this about? Right? Even if I want to avoid it at all costs. I wanted to avoid this election at all costs, but I can't go through it unscathed. People want to know. When a Super Bowl comes around, people want to know, who do I think will win? So it's just being in that position, right? Where people come to me, they want to know what's the code, what's going on here. And a lot of the times I do avoid, but sometimes I actually come across some incredible connections, and it's helped me foresee how the events will unfold. And then it all comes back to something that I'm not going to say matters to me the most, but something that does matter to me, which is the game of finance. How can I play this game instead of the game playing me?
Yeah, and finance, right? The currency, the sea, maritime law, et cetera, et cetera. It's very powerful. You have NASA trying to find stuff at the bottom of the ocean. You have the Epstein connection with Ghislaine or Ghislaine, however the you say her name. With
I like Ghislaine. That's a good one.
That's what it's Mandela effect, dude. That's what I thought it was for a long time, and people were making fun of it. But then when I was saying it on episodes, they were like, "You're saying it wrong," and I'm like, "Whoa, what? Who cares? You know who the I'm talking about?
It's Ghislaine.
Ghislaine, that bitch.
But speaking of Ghislaine, why don't we have any footage of her getting arrested and put into a cop car and taken to the precinct? Like, why do we have that video of Diddy? And also, why is Diddy's mugshot obviously a clone?
Just want to remind everyone, make sure to check out the show on Patreon, patreon.com/the one-on-one podcast. I constantly get emails. Oh, only one episode a week. Yeah, one episode a week for the public, but for as little as $5 a month, you can get up to 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 1 episode per day on the Patreon, as well as on the YouTube channel as a member for as little as $5. And there's also on the Patreon over 250 episodes only found on there. There's an extensive backlog of episodes. So check that out. For those interested, for those asking, make sure to follow the show on YouTube, One Podcast. Also, One Media. I am going live every Tuesday on there streaming. I also go live on twitch.tv/One Podcast. So make sure to check me out on there Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. And make sure to get your copy of the Occultus Mundi Homunculus Owner's Manual, all that good stuff at tjojp.com. Can pick up your copies there or go over to the Ko-Fi. I'm on Facebook, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, all that good stuff. You know where to find it, and enjoy this episode. I thought that mugshot was AI, dude.
It could be very much AI, but it's so funny that that's even another rabbit hole we could go down. But like, I do want people to know that you need to be cautious of how quickly you believe in something.
Yes.
That's all.
Well, like the Olympic thing with that boxer. It turns out she was born a woman, technically, but she failed some test or something. But a 2-second Google search would have told you that. And how many people didn't run with that? And she had competed already years prior in the Olympics.
Here's the thing, bro. It's because the New World Order knows that they're losing steam on these exoteric things, so they need it to be theatrical now. They need to have this man-like woman beat the out of some other, but then they also need to have somebody who's clearly not a breakdancer be a part of the breakdancing competition. They are just trolling you all. We have actual Hollywood actors becoming presidents and also actors becoming leaders of other nations, not just the United States. So it's just, we're here at peak theater, and I want us to go that direction together because I think we could both kind of vibe there. Protect your prana, family. Like, don't turn everything into this grand conspiracy, because at the end of the day, you're just watching Hollywood do what they do best. They're just presenting to you theater. Enjoy it. Have fun. Just have fun. Because when you preserve that prana and channel it, and I'm not trying to get all woo woo with you, but I really feel this way because it's what changed my life as somebody who was in the weeds in every conspiracy known to man. Once I redirected that energy and I started putting it towards my purpose, life changed. And I got calmer and I got more. It was easier for me to communicate with so-called NPCs, which, believe it or not, is a valuable thing. You don't want to separate yourself from the whole world just because you know something about homunculuses. It's like, be a human for once. And I think sometimes as we grow and have this awareness download into us, we start to separate even more from the everyday man. And what are you going to be left with, bro? The everyday man drives our trucks, farms all of our food. Like, stop doing this. Obviously, I'm not speaking to you or directly to your audience, but I mean in general. I don't think the truth community understands the consequences of you just shutting yourself off to the entire universe and only be down with people who don't want to who don't want to wear a mask, who know that 9/11 was a job. At the end of the day, all those things have zero value when they matter most. Truly. Mm-hmm. Like, I see myself getting the most value out of life from just ordinary people. And a lot of the time when I get in connection with people that are very book smart, that know a lot about all this stuff, like, I walk away from it empty because there's no soul on the other side. Like, you don't need to be so talented and technical and be a book nerd to be valuable in this world. Like, you need to have actual skills. Not that that isn't a skill, but ultimately, if you're excited about other things in life besides just the seeking of conspiracy, don't feel bad to not be completely up to date with every new conspiracy. And I think that again, it's like this trap, this cyclone for people where they're like, oh, it's the Diddy thing now. And then they get back into it. Some people go months and months. I'm just trying to teach you all right now the power of the withdrawal. Okay. Because sometimes you break free, but then you get strung right back in. Please pay attention to what I'm saying, because these are valuable words of wisdom. I know so many people that have listened to what I just said moments ago about protecting your prana, and then an event comes up that's some high level such as this Diddy thing or the Trump attempt, and then they're right back in it, giving all of their energy to this thing. They're roped back in. And I think, again, tip my hat to the New World Order, because they're amazing at this. They know they'll get you somehow in the World Wide Web.
And that's the thing, dude, right? Because you're touching on aspects of art. There's no video of her. Are these people avatars? And by that, I mean, are they actual? I believe that, right? The whole thespian thing, Hollywood, Shakespeare. I think it all starts at Shakespeare, really, where even Francis Yates talked about how a lot of these plays had propaganda in them. And I did a breakdown of Shakespeare's Globe Theater and how it's one of the most famous theaters that there ever was, that was built to these certain proportions, that is essentially what we have today as our movies, as our stage, center stage. It all came from that Globe Theater aspect. But it's one of the most famous theaters. But guess what, dude? We have no plans of it. No sketch. We have 2 sketches of them in a skyline. But it was one of the most influential theaters. Oh, and there's this remnant of this little piece of it. It was here. And I'm like, what? And then when you start to peel apart the Shakespearean conspiracy, if you will, and that's why, dude, I've been stepping away from these conspiracies, because I feel what you're saying. You get lost in the sauce and you'll lose your mind. Yeah, you will lose literally. Your mind trying to figure something out. You'll be like
Joyce Byers with the lights in your house, playing Ouija board on the walls.
Bro,
like, that's really what it comes down to.
These people have been in power for thousands of years. You think that some neckbeard somewhere in his mom's basement is going to figure it all out? I figured I did the math. It all turns out bro.
Yeah.
Settle down.
I get you. I get you.
You're just muddying the waters even further. And that's why I like to stick to history, whatever that is, right? Whatever we have written records of. But even then, that's all up, because if we look at any major world religion or anything, it's all writings. It's all source. Trust me, bro. That put people in this trance of if you tell somebody, right, without that famous quote, you tell people a lie enough, they're going to start to believe it. You just got to Do it enough times. Present the narrative enough times, and they'll start to question that. Like I've been testing recently for my general contractor's license, and these tests are designed in a way to where it's like it makes you doubt yourself. You go, well, it can be that. And then once you answer it the first time, don't change. Move on, because you go, wait a minute. It might be this. Or it might be.
Well, that's what a test is, though, bro. That's why they call it testament. Test the mind. But that's what it is. All tests are designed that way.
Reality is like that, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like reality itself is a test, a testament.
Let me share my take on this, because I think it'll have some utility behind it. Reality is not a test, because in reality, many answers can get you a successful result. A test has one answer only, could be the right answer.
Touche, yeah.
So I especially know this through the lenses of business and being a consultant, being able to help people. A lot of people come to me with this, novice-like mindset that only one answer will give them the result. And I blow their minds with like 15 different ideas, and they're like, holy, because that's what reality actually is. It's not just one answer gets you the result. It's many, many things work. And ultimately, you want to know something even more up? Not only do many, many things work, but if you were to find the thing that works, it will eventually need a pattern break for it to work again, because everything plateaus. Look at exercise. If you're just benching 100 pounds for a year straight, you're going to have no progress. But once you apply progressive overload, once you start to change your rep ranges, once you start to, you see where I'm going? Life is a muscle. The mind is a muscle. If you keep yourself at the same level with your mind, the way that you exercise that, well, then you're not going to grow. And I'm not saying you need to grow, but I'm just kind of circling back to what you said. No, life is not a test. If it was a test, things would be, well, let me say it like this, because you are right. To the average person, we've been indoctrinated through the indoctrination camps to treat life like a test.
What is religion?
Hence why exactly. Well, it's testament. Testament. Mente, mentis, mind. So we are all, but that's what our opportunity is. And that's why I'm not going to be bitter about the knowing of this. And that's where the ascension is. It's like, yes, I know the system's rigged. I know the system has problems. I know there's taxes. I know there's this, that, and the third. But instead of being a Karen about it, how about I learn about it? How about I go within to see the machinations of what this scam is, so that I could protect myself, my family, my community, etc., instead of just bitching and moaning all day. Yeah, I know 9/11 was a job. I know that this, that, and the third was orchestrated. But all that matters is, do I react or do I respond? Most people are built to reaction mode. And that's the cycle that we're in. So it's about applied actions and about applied knowledge and wisdom. So I get that people think they have wisdom, but most of the time, all they have is information. And you said that a little bit earlier. It's perfectly put. A lot of us just are hoarding information out of our skulls, but there's very little applied knowledge, which I would call gnosis.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully done. And the reason I was saying it was a test is because, again, it's very Gnostic. You have to get initiated through life and prepare. I used this analogy on this episode I did the other day, where it's like people who are doomsday preppers, where they're preparing their entire lives for something that might not even happen. I think that the apocalypse of anything, right? Apocalypse is unveiling. What if it's the unveiling of some information that just has an ontological shockwave throughout society itself, right? Like not so much, hey, Project Bluebeam, they're going to project this dragon into the sky or whatever they talk about, right? 'Cause that's the conspiracy. That's what Starlink is. They have this grid in space. What the is space? Like, is that even real? Like, they have this stuff in space. And I don't know if you saw the app where people can order light. Did you see that, dude?
No.
Light. Yeah, there's an app where these people are developing to where you can hit on your app and order light to wherever you are, dude.
What? Dude, it's too early to blow my mind right now.
Hold on, I'm gonna find it.
These are the things that blow my mind, by the way.
Dude, it's
like
bizarre.
somebody told me that there was like actual bipedal humanoid like sex robots that are like hooked up to a subscription program, and they're being and like it's like real already. And I was just like, is this serious? Are we there?
Hold that thought.
That we're there.
Hold that thought because you talked about the conspiratorial messiah essentially, right? I want to talk about that. Yeah. Because I think that's important. But check this out. I'm gonna show you this app right now. You can order, like, I don't know the name of it. I have to find it. I talked about it a couple episodes ago. But check this out. I want you to see this.
I want to order ether. Can I get like a mythological ether, like the air that the gods breathe?
DoorDash some philosopher's stone. So check this out. You can now order sunlight using a phone application at night. So
sunlight, not just any light.
Here it is. He's gonna show it.
You can like play with the spot, but watch this. Just bring it over to us here. Isn't that crazy?
No way.
Where's the light coming, bro? I hate this. Shut this off. I hate what you're showing me right now. That bothers me.
Listen, dude. Look, it's a globe. Listen, let me find the name of it.
You're banned.
But dude, it's here. You can order sunlight on your app. And it's a startup company.
At first, I didn't understand you because you were saying order light, but now you're saying order sunlight. This is. Can you order like a swath of mosquitoes to go to somebody's house? Can you be like, I want to send 15 cheetahs to this address right now?
I'm sure.
Like holographic cheetahs with drone cameras, just so you can see the person piss themselves, and then that'll be your comedy for the night.
A company is selling sunlight, dude. What in the world is this?
Play with the spot, but yeah, watch this.
Okay, I want another video.
Bring it over to us here.
I saw this video already. I need extra proof.
I'm trying to find the name of it.
There's a very real possibility we'll be able to buy sunlight in the future.
Yeah, we got the same video rotating around. Sunlight. This guy's at the local Walmart. It's a his homie is at the Walmart at like 4 a.m. just being like, yo, bro, turn it on real quick.
Here we go. Reflect Orbital is a startup that is developing a service to provide sunlight after dark. The idea is to deliver sunlight on demand, similar to ordering food directly to a home from space. Listen, dude, we can get together and do the mosquito whatever.
Yeah, that's our startup, bro. We're going to Silicon Valley to pitch this.
So here we go. Fact or Fiction, new startup. So it's called Reflect Orbital. And here's their website. Explore lighting, media. Let's go to media. Mirrors in space could
make any power at night, and neither will any of these. But we can change that.
This is the worst. This is the worst thing I've ever looked at right here.
The Russians launched a reflector satellite in the 1990s, and it worked. But we've come
oh my god!
With simple
can we save this for another time? Because I think I need to like really go within and ask myself like what will I be up to in 5 years? Because this tech is really wild, bro. For real. I'm blown away. Like every week there's this new thing, right? And have you ever seen that show Humans? You might not have been able to get access to it because it was like only available in the UK, but it was like on UK Netflix. It's called Humans. It's about these lifelike, seemingly sentient robots.
Is it this one?
I believe yes, and they had it on Netflix as well.
So, based on the Swedish science fiction drama Real Humans, the series explores the themes of artificial intelligence and robotics, focusing on the social, cultural, and psychological impact of the invention of the anthropomorphic robots called synths.
Yeah,
the series is produced jointly by Channel 4. So
no. So this isn't even the Netflix version. So there's also a version that was like launched by Netflix. Yeah, there you go.
This one.
Yeah. Okay, bro. So let me just give you a brief synopsis. So obviously the initial purpose of them is to be like a nanny, like to clean your house, right? That's like how it starts. Okay. There's a company right now in Norway, as we speak, called 1X, and they're already getting funding for a robot that will clean your house. It will make a coffee for you. Yeah. And they say it weighs like 70 pounds. So it's like you could push this thing down a flight of stairs if it's being weird with you. But everything I'm saying right now is this is real. And they're about to get $2 billion worth of funding. So let's get back to the show. So it starts off being like a nanny. It's taking care of for you. It's driving your kids to school, whatever you need to do.
Jerking you off and it's off time.
Well, that's the thing, bro. You can upload, and they show you this in the show. You can upload like different packs into it. Like one will make it able to have sex. One will make it able to it's madness. And then effectively what goes down is the humans who have so-called compassion feel bad that the real live humans are treating these robots like so the real live human, and we're talking about citizens, like we're not talking about like Elon or any of these technocrats. The citizens start to develop these relationships with these robots, and they start to get this tight bond, and after such they start to feel compassionate, and they're like, oh well, other people aren't treating them and giving them like the love and care that we are, right? So those people hack the server or whatever it is that's running these robots, and makes it so that they can feel, like actually have consciousness, okay? And once they do that, of course, a war breaks out. So they upload consciousness into these robots, and then that's when the whole show takes a turn. And now they militarize, and it becomes this like, now the only purpose of being a human on Earth is to protect yourself against this Terminator-like situation. So the show just goes in the same direction of the same we've been shown the whole time. But that is no different than the movie The Creator. I don't know if you saw that one, but The Creator has a similar theme where it shows that we've developed this bond with robots, and that we, the regular basic people, are the ones that launch the problem. It's not that these technocrats are all about making money, right? That's all. That's
I heard
their whole
about
thing.
this movie where the little boy has like some codes or something like that to destroy the world or something. He's like a
No, basically this little boy, it shows that the robots can now make, which is the big turning point of it all. It's like, can they procreate? So what's crazy, and I don't want to spoil everything for everyone, so this is like don't listen to this part, skip a minute forward. But
what am I supposed to do though, dude?
Okay, yeah, you can watch it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. But the point is, you know where this is headed, and technologies like this are gonna be pushed and launched to the, and we don't have to spend too much time talking about this if you don't want to, if there's more other interesting topics, but just to wrap it all up, they're gonna promote these technologies, these humanoid-like robots or artificial intelligence. They're gonna launch it as if it's convenient, right? Like everything. It's gonna be a convenience. It's gonna be like, all you have to do is 15 payments of $177 a month. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna put it on a payment. They're gonna put it on a payment program, obviously. And then it's going to be like a subscription service, and it's going to be ongoing. And then the moment you can't afford it anymore, it'll deactivate, and you'll just have this thing. And then a guy in a white van will show up and throw it in the back, and it'll be like those scooters you're seeing in cities. And that's how it'll start. It'll start like rent a robot. I wouldn't even be surprised if it would be something like that shows up at your house, like it's just there. Like you ordered it, it shows up just like Uber Eats. It'll be activated by a phone app. It'll do whatever chores or tasks you can afford for it to do. Because I know these technocrats, dude, they're going to program this up. They're going to be like, there'll be an entry level, like, bronze tiers, where it's like the bronze tier will get you the coffee maker robot and the robot. And then gold tier will be like, it massages you and like reads you bedtime stories. And then like platinum tier will be like, it's probably sexual. And this will just be the demise of the human species, because we want to avoid each other, kind of, don't we? Like the 99% are like in pure avoidance mode. And it I'm going to wrap it up here. That circles back to what I was warning about with the truther community. Stop treating all humans, just because they don't know what you know, like they're pieces of shit, because they're not, bro. Because I bet you when we start getting robots, you're going to want those NPCs back so damn fast. You're going to be praying for them.
It's like the anime Terminator. I think it's Terminator 1 on Netflix. It's kind of sort of like that, about the machines and all that. And I mean, right, Terminator, I showed the Diddy meme earlier, and it's from the movie Terminator with the weird metallic guy. But this kind of sort of plays into what I wanted to talk about with the conspiracy messiahs, right? The class of people, which this is kind of sort of like why people go to you, because you have the eyes to see, almost like or like the Pythia back then, where they would divinate and kind of sort of give guidance to people. Obviously, they were huffing these hallucinogenic gases from the center of this volcano, you know, the whatever it was, it was like nitrous or something, like some kind of gas that would come up. But point being that there's always this class, this shaman class. And it's interesting, right? Because memes are so powerful in our society nowadays. Like, I can make a video or a clip or something that it won't do anything, but you put out a good meme and people will start sharing it, and it gets way more likes or more views than anything else, right? Because memes, in my opinion, are the evolution of the magical square. Mm-hmm. And the thing about the shaman class, which is interesting, because we have Trump, who, in my opinion, uses memetic magic. I consider myself a memetic magician, using memes as a form of, art as a form of meme, if you will, where we're all constantly creating art and putting out art, and people are interacting with it. But it's interesting that usually the shaman class, whenever they would be presented information, it would come in the form of like an animal, right? So the first magic square, when it was shown to, I believe it was a Chinese emperor, was on the I think it was on the back of a turtle. Right.
Okay.
And we have all these, right? Pepe the frog, or Kek the frog, whatever. And you have the Kek with the chaos connection. Sure. And then you have Trump, this sort of chaotic dualism, but they're all different sides of the same coin, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Then you have the cats and dogs recently with the debate. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, and eat the cats, eat. They have the song now of like, yep. The eat. And then the one that really resonated with a lot of people, who turned out to be right, even though he was,
I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm kind of retarded.
A little retarded, was Alex Jones.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Turns out he was right, bro. Turns out he was correct, that the chemicals were turning the frogs, I believe it was hermaphroditic or something like that, and the frogs were being gay. And I got sent a clip today. It's kind of long, so I'm not gonna, but it plays into this whole thing that you're talking about, and it plays into, in my opinion, the homunculus. Let me share my screen here real quick. It's a pretty long clip. It's like 3 minutes long, but it was the Alex Jones interview with Tucker Carlson, which Tucker Carlson, again, and another one of these puppets by the media,
the intellectual dark web.
Yeah. In this video, he's talking about this technology that has been around for 30 years at least, that he's got evidence of these chimeras that are being created. He talks about a spider monkey chimera that allegedly creates body armor or something like that. So chimeric monkey is a primate. So he was talking about a spider monkey that was both spider and monkey at the same time. And so, anyways, point being that he was talking about chimeras that are being grown in these bovine uteruses, because the cow, and it's interesting that the cow is at the forefront of a lot of stories in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
You have religions who worship the cow. You have the golden calf that was worshipped with Moses, who then broke it down and made them drink it or eat it or something like that, which is weird. But cows are also present in a lot of these grimoires, which we know grimoires is, the word that grammar comes from. So again, back to this concept of language and maybe language being a virus, information being a virus of some sort, because it kind of can feel like that, right? Where you get infected with these topics and you can't set it down. And I'm there, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm in that. I'm not pointing the finger at it because I'm there. Okay, that's the whole reason why I started researching the occult, the esoteric, because it's a form of virus. It's something that, but you have to come at it from how you're saying a technical perspective of not getting lost in the sauce. And if you can step back and go, okay, it might all be fake and gay, but I can still enjoy the journey and some sort of have like a weird relationship with the information, but just keep it far enough to where you don't get too drunk off the sauce, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or develop a relationship with the information instead of a weird experiment. I think
Fetish,
a lot of the time,
yeah.
I think a lot of the time what we actually have going on is this awkward experiment with everything, and we never relate to much. And it's the moment we're able to relate to it is when we start to actually have this. Yeah, it's when it
interesting
starts
you
to
say
be
that,
alchemy again.
because right, you've touched on the concept of interacting with NPCs now, if they're actually empty vessels or not, but people who aren't into it. And I was telling a story on Owen Hunt's Bootsy Greenwood's podcast, where whenever I go to these Christmas dinners or party dinners for my wife's company, oh, sorry, my bad, I took you out by accident. I sit in a corner, and I'll
Shout out to One-on-One's wife. She has to deal with this maniac every night.
sit
She's
in
the
a
real
corner,
hero of the story.
and she looks at me because she knows, right? Because how you're saying you have a weird relationship. Well, you can't present this information to just anybody.
Yeah.
And I'll sit in the corner, and I'll try and I'll interact as much as I can awkwardly, right? Like before I pop the question. And sometimes I find myself testing people with questions that I ask. Like I had this meeting earlier this week, and I tested the guy who I was talking to, and I was like, so blah, blah, blah. And he didn't take my base. I was like, all right, this guy, can't talk to this guy about homunculus. But right, imagine talking to a regular person at the store somewhere, at a get together at one of these company parties, and you whisper to them, hey dude, you know what a homunculus is? But there's one guy, which is my wife's boss's husband, who knows that I'm into this sort of stuff. So every now and again, like after a few drinks, he'll lean over, he goes, so what do you think about, and then he'll just like ask me about any conspiracy, because he knows, but he's like the only guy that I can talk to about it. But even then I got to keep it in simple terms, because again, there is like this awkward energy when it comes to talking about this sort of stuff, where you can't talk about it. Right? It's almost like you're cursed because you've interacted.
I don't know, bro. I mean, again, I'm not trying to go against your real life experiences, but like one situation that I remember vividly, and it was kind of my own social experiment. I went, I think I was in London for a little bit, and I got in an Uber, and I asked the guy whatever, like a couple questions, went from one angle to the next, and he said something that triggered me to just try him. And I brought up something, and then he went on like a 10-minute rant about like Epstein and like all these, and like how everyone in the royal families, and like Princess Diana was killed, and like this was a Uber driver, dude. And then he after he had his moment, because he has been holding that feeling in for years, and he finally got me, he's been holding it in. That's his homunculus, it's been brewing up of him like a jambalaya. So he finally gets his moment, but then it switched, okay? Because I said to him, well, I always do this to people because that's the kind of guy I am. I was like, trying to just get him to realize how bitter he was without calling him bitter. I just tried to compassionate it all and tried to be like, yeah, man, like I get it. Like I see where you're at with this, but like, what's really the problem? Like what's really going on? And then he started to open up about all these other real issues going on in his life and all of this stuff. And it was this heartfelt moment. And then he then, after all of that, he started to get super comfortable, and he revealed to me that he used to be or he still is a professional photographer. And part of his photography that he does is he travels to third world countries, right? And he had this experience before he learned about all this, Epstein and child and this, that, and the third. He had this experience where he went to some place in like a random I don't know if it was like Kyrgyzstan or Uzbekistan, like one of those, right? And he said that whilst he was there doing photography, he came across a small village, and there was a lady that was selling her for prostitution, like sex. She was selling her own, and he couldn't really wrap his head around the whole experience. But she had like 4, and they each had a price on them, and it was like the highest bidder situation. And she was like, they were so broke, whatever their circumstances were, they had no money, like extreme poverty, that she actually had to be faced with that scenario where she's like, that's our option. And I know that's not the only option, but this is her level of consciousness, and this is the area that you're in right now. Like, that's kind of the thing. I'm sure this is very much the case in a lot of places in Thailand and Cambodia and Laos, these Southeast Asian countries, where you see that be very prominent. And that's why a lot of tourism, there's sex tourism in those places, right? So this broke my heart, because as this guy was telling this story, he was breaking down. Like, it was such a horrifying thing for him to see. A mother selling off her own kids into effectively sex slavery. And that was the reality that was the reality of it all. And he said by experiencing that, it destroyed him so much that he went down this rabbit hole of finding out about all of this. So that was the domino effect of it all. And when I checked back in with him on it, like I understood it, you know, I saw what it was, and I could see why you would want to be an advocate of this situation. You would want to reveal and expose and let people know about the machinations of power, of what's really keeping this whole thing called power together, the optics of power. And a lot of it has to do with preying on purity and siphoning purity as an alchemical like fuel, if you will, to maintain that level of posture in the elite rankings, you know? And it sucks that that's the way that it is. You all kind of get where I'm going with this. It's why the way the system works the way that it does. And it's the reason why money's not a problem for the real elites. They print the money. That's not the problem. They get all your money through taxes. So there's a higher currency out there, a much, much higher. Anyways, it was just a beautiful thing to have this conversation with a complete stranger, random Uber driver. And then since then, I started practicing the same thing with as many people as possible. How can I get people who are just normal everyday folk to feel comfortable enough with me to talk about what it is that's on their mind, and not just go in it with this assumption that they have no idea? Right? Of course, there are subject matter that are very complex and deep and so esoteric, such as homunculus or Gematria. Like, bro, I've spoken to not rabbis directly, but people who are Jewish who don't even know about Gematria. And I'm not Jewish and I know about it. It's insane to come across people who, like, this is part of the practice in some esoteric layer, but it's not for them. It's not for them. It's not for Jews. This is for Kabbalists. This is for higher level wizards, right? And that's why when we use it, we abuse it. We are using it to make insane connections that don't actually exist in reality. And that was what you brought up a little bit earlier about the hurricane. It's just kind of just making connections for no reason, with no utility or no equation here or purpose. But anyways, man, I think there's a lot of people like your bosses, whoever that you brought up. There's a lot of people that are, because of C19, having this like 4 to 5 year period of time where they've been so reamed out by the scam of it all. Everything from education, they know going to college is an absolute waste of money. All of these things. It's like the whole system that the boomers were force fed. They know it's broken. They know it's, and that's why we're seeing a lot of awakening there too. And I don't use that term to be demeaning. I'm just being honest here. You know, that age demographic really woke the up during C19. For some reason, they weren't able to during 9/11. Like, that was my real awakening time frame. How was I able to tap into that 20 years before people that are at this situation only realizing things because of a virus?
How old are you, bro? You're about like the same age as me, no? Like
Oh
around
man,
30?
I'm like 400. I'm like 450 years old. I'm
You're on your
Noah.
third reincarnation.
Yeah, I'm Noah with dragon scales.
I was in second grade when 9/11 popped off, and again I couldn't imagine. You know, a lot of these conspiracies that are big now. Can you imagine the buzz when JFK was taken out, or you know the
Well, that's why
buzz
they created the term conspiracy theory, because of
of the
him.
CIA?
Yeah, that's exactly the moment that term came to life. They designed it because of his death.
We still don't know. A lot of the documents are classified, bro. So people can't figure something out that happened in 19 whatever you know,
53, I think.
something like that, right? It was like
Yeah.
11. It was like November 22nd. 33. It's a King Kill 33 ritual, right? Like this whole crazy thing, and it's like we still haven't figured that out yet. We're gonna crack the codes of everything else that has happened after. We still don't know what really happened 9/11. People kind of speculate, and it's like I never saw, right, this liberation through conspiracy, because it's interesting what effect really, and this is something that really interests me as far as ancient religion, cosmology, and all that other stuff. Like I had a comment on one of my shorts where I was talking about gnosis, right? Because the Gnostics was something that I first started studying. It's super interesting to me, you know, ancient history and ancient religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just talking about the concept of gnosis, the concept of the theory of forms, the concept of a higher divinity, the concept of transcending dimensions to get into the upper eons. Something that is very kind of sort of well documented within these circles. Now, we don't know what gnosis actually was 100%, but it's something like the Philosopher's Stone. You can obtain it if you do X, Y, Z. And this person commented, it was like, kids, this is what drugs do to your brain. And I'm like, I was like, wait, so talking about cosmology and ancient religions, drugs will make me talk more about, give me more, because these are the people that influence quite
I don't know if
literally.
you've been to Kensington, Philadelphia, but
Never.
they're not able to speak in full sentences. That's what drugs does to you. You're like leaning over, hobbling like a goblin with like fentanyl. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, what are we even saying here? Yeah, that instant judgment because somebody's tapping into something that you've never heard of before is very strange.
But I'm just retelling.
It's what it is.
I'm just rehashing what's already been there, but yet to somebody it's so alien. You know, like for somebody it's so and then that gets me into like the whole William Burroughs, where he talked about there's a piece of information, there is a sequence of words, there's a sequence of a numerical value, right, to apply gematria to it, that will dissolve your reality. For your Uber driver was that one moment learning about that one thing that's super dark and super nasty. Yeah. And that was his moment that his reality unraveled. And then it kind of sort of infected him to harbor in that thing. But how you were saying, you know, Waters, the esoteric Dr. Phil, where he was able to go in there and extract out, you know, this dude's beating heart. It's like, so what's really at the core? Is it the reptilian conspiracy, Illuminati elites? Or
you just made my year by calling me the esoteric Dr. Phil. I love you, bro. Dude, that's the best.
But it's interesting, right? To where I know of people that don't take accountability for their actions. And they will quite literally blame the Illuminati for doing some stuff that they brought upon themselves. If you went and you consumed certain substances and drove and did something, that's on you, bro. It wasn't the Illuminati lizard people that made you do that. Oh, they're trying to take me out. No, dude, you're sabotaging yourself. But
right,
it's amazing what the information does, because it does become a living organism, and it does attach to people, similar to in that movie Netflix. You got to check out the Homunculus movie on Netflix, bro, where, you know, the homunculus in that movie are people's deepest, darkest secrets, their traumas that are attached to them. And then there's a guy who can see it, but he can see them at a cost. And then the whole movie is crazy, but it's interesting.
Can you, what's the name of the movie?
Homunculus.
Oh, literally on
Literally.
Netflix.
On
Oh my
Netflix.
goodness. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Thank you.
Yeah, check, dude. It's wild, right?
I bet. I bet for someone like you, it's like, man, the most exoteric platform to ever be.
100%, right?
Spilling the beans. Good.
So it's interesting what information can do to people. You know, we're bashing conspiracies at the front half of this, but it's like there's a sort of revelation that these things isn't this, and it's all about the initiation through trauma. This dude experienced some trauma.
Yeah.
The regular guy working Uber, right? Like you're saying, the NPC, like the people who run the infrastructure.
Yeah,
The guy,
and I hope I didn't come off as bashing the conspiracies. Really, it was just more the relationship one has with them.
awareness.
Yeah, and like the way that we take on this information and just
Interact with it.
Yeah. Like I just want there to be some sort of purpose here besides us just on this Ferris wheel like a gerbil, right? Of this endless it's the next big thing. It's the next big thing. And then there's really no work or building being done at the core level. Right. So the whole purpose of the church and the going there on the Sundays and dressing up the way that you do and all of that, like there's none of that is spoken about in the holy text that those people are supposedly following. So how does that come to be? Right. It's this pattern of having an experimental, not relationship. And there's this ongoing weird experiment with someone else's interpretation of something because you yourself do not harness the eye to see. So you need somebody else to be the translator of such text for you. And they do it with this emotion and vigor, and it sucks you in. Really, it's not even that you have a relationship with the religion or with the Bible or with the Quran or whatever. You have a experiment going on with your pastor or your imam or whoever. Like, this is what it is. Or your Rebbe. You have this weird experiment going on with them. Because if you had a relationship going on with them, you would never succumb to any of this in the first place. You would have already become, oh, this is weird. Why am I doing this? What's going on here? Why is this person acting this way? You would analyze, right? So when you cut off all that analytical side altogether and all you're left with is the worship and belief and the forfeiting your agency, then that's what you land at. And that's a majority here. So I think all I'm saying is it's no different to turn Sunday day into church day than it is to be this kind of conspiratorial journalist who's just always looking for the next big event to happen so that you could scream at the world, like, look at how right I am. That's never what it was about to begin with. But there's a business behind it, bro. And the business it's spicy and it's sexy. And I think that's why people sometimes don't enjoy the esoteric Dr. Phil, who's me, because they want to find somebody who will be at that drama level with them. And I just won't do it. And you know that for a fact, because all the conversations that we've had in the past, even on that podcast that we did on that roundtable, like I was very much playing that role because that's who I am. I'm not going to sit here and just watch everyone bitch and moan and complain and like play that game of higher knowing. If it's just like, maybe it's fun sometimes, but it's really not making any progress, I suppose. And I don't want to put myself in the position that I'm the one who knows what progress is or isn't. But it's pretty clear to me that we're all still worshiping politicians and the global elite through belief prana, through power assumption. Like, you don't need a president if you're a sovereign man. You don't need a government. Look at the word government. Governare mente, mentis, mind control. Why do you need that? And why are you believing that there's some white hat good guys in a system called mind control? Isn't that strange? But you do not know thy language. You don't know the meaning of words. You know the definitions of words, the definitions.
Yeah, and they fall upon deaf ears because the language, which right now I speculate is taking an evolution. It's going through a metamorphosis to where, I use this example to where with less words, right? And I've seen somewhere, I forgot where it was, where rhetoric, they don't teach it anymore. And rhetoric is the art of being able to speak while, I could be butchering this up, being able to speak while in enshrouding or occulting information, right? You get this right now. There's people freaking out because I guess somebody and I haven't heard them, but somebody translated the Hitler speeches with AI and now it's in English. So now that information that was otherwise occulted is being spread through. And I'm not a Nazi sympathizer or anything like that. I'm just talking about information and how it can shift paradigms essentially. And so people are freaking out about that because now we know what was being said, and because we have all these interpretations. How you're saying, how I mentioned earlier, religion is a brokered experience. History kind of seems like a brokered interpretation of like, hey, this is what's in our history books. This is what you have to take as 100%. And if you question it, you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're an XYZ, or you're this and that, right? You can't question it. You can't ask questions, but it's in our fundamental core to ask questions. If the first thing a child knows how to do is to ask a question about XYZ, we're all right. And there's something about that innocence too, how you mentioned earlier, there's something about that purity.
Yeah.
And that's the currency that they look for, this purity of, it can be it can be an NPC or somebody who's unaware of all these things, because there's plenty of people who don't even know how to spell homunculus, right? They don't even know how to spell homunculus, let alone understand the concept of what it is, right? So there's something about that purity, that innocence, that goes a long way, especially when it comes to this sort of thing. And once you have propaganda mixed in there, right? Speaking about the political parties, you take all of that, you take all the stuff that we've talked about, and people will follow what's presented to them through the media, through the news, Northeast, Southwest, whatever, I always found that interesting. That news was NEWS, which is like the cardinal directions. Is there like an occult connection to that too?
Of course. It's the broken compass.
Oof.
And that's exactly what you get when you're consuming the news. Of course, you can be entertained by the news. That would be a safer relationship to have.
Because it's ridiculous.
You know what foods are poisonous for you, yet we still consume them because they're tasty. They're acidic, right? We all love ice cream more than we would love chewing on kale stalks. That's just the way we are. I'm not to say kale stalks are healthy, but it's just, you get where I'm going with this. At the end of the day, like, we all just like something that's sugary, sweet, fatty, salty, deep fried, and that's what the news is. It's perfect. It's McDonald's in visuals and optics. And the same... I thought that was the sound of you farting, but I think it's your microphone.
Right? You heard that, bro? It's been happening throughout this whole episode. I thought they were tapping into you, bro. They're like,
bro, we should
water's
make...
on.
I think me and you should make a hummus restaurant called Homunculus, something like a play on words. I think that'd be dope.
Yeah. No, they're
Speaking
tapping
of
in,
farts,
bro.
but anyways, I think at the end of the day, we're kind of seeking that sweet, kind of like, you get it. We just love it. We love that explosion of flavor. And that's what all these events add up to be. And I say to people, just become an alchemist, transmute. When events happen or things that are going down on the world stage, I go about it with this knowing that, all this is an opportunity for me to tap into this information, which is information, and bring chaos to it. And the chaos is through, just my essence. And then through that, it becomes alchemy. And I'm able to transmute whatever that information is to be a disruptor. And that's just what my purpose is. Like, I'm here to up. And I get that a lot of people aren't. I'm not asking anyone to be like me. I'm not trying to convince anyone otherwise. We're all here to serve our purpose. My purpose is to break down structures, analyze the rubble, and then rebuild and make a hopefully more sound, more enjoyable structure, but not to just sit around and complain, pointing at the structure and being like, I hate that. Do something about it then, right? Like, we have this amazing opportunity to connect through the internet at infinite scale at all times. That's a piece of power right there that we all abuse quite often. And I think what we're doing right now together is we're utilizing that opportunity, and more people should. Come together with people. But when you search Twitter for like 5 seconds, or a lot of these online forums, all you're faced with is hate, negativity, division, 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 over and over and over again. The comments section is like a cesspool. And that's even what happens sometimes in content that we deliver, art that we create, you know? So I'll just touch base on one thing you said earlier, and I find it really fascinating. You talked about this person commenting that basically the only person who would speak the way that you are is somebody who's on drugs, or like, this is what drugs do to you. But another way that I would look at it is he found you. Even though there's disagreement and all, and at the end of the day, like, attention was drawn. And now we've made a connection. There's a connection here. So when hate comes my way, or when people say things like that, I just come to the realization that there's a currency transaction here. Even the hate and the negativity can be transmuted into something that I alchemize. Like, I can turn this energy into whatever I want. I could take a moment, and I'm not saying you did, but I could take that as offense. I can get, like, you know, worried or just kind of shrivel up. Or I could be like, well, I got attention from that. Like, I did something and it made somebody feel something. And I know that they're trying to be a jokester or whatever. But once you kind of invite the trolls in, the platform grows more. Like, I welcome my doors to everyone. I'm not here. I just have realized that I can't sit around trying to convince anyone of anything. So if a troll comes my way and they try to get me in that position where I have to explain myself, it's like, I have almost 300 videos. You can spend your time doing that for yourself, right? Like, I don't need to. Once you go into defense mode, it becomes you just lowering your posture, removing the power.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing that's important too is being in this whole thing. It's not our job to convince people of anything. You know, let them come to their own assumptions and their own conclusions with the information presented. And that's why I think that a lot of people enjoy my show, because I'm not here to push any narrative, right? I'll tell you everything is a homunculus, but I'll give you, like, hey, it relates to this because of this. If you want to believe it, believe it. If you don't, then don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's open for interpretation. And I think that a lot of things are. It's the same way that how I've said, we're all touching, right? All world religions or all world cosmologies are touching the same elephant, but they're touching different parts of the elephant. This guy's got the balls, this guy's got the trunk, this guy's got the ear, and then they're like, oh, it's something, it's the ball sack. And it's like, no, it's this. You're touching the same thing, but if we don't come together, we can't see the bigger picture. Right?
And that's beautiful that you brought that up, because that actually unlocks a lot of truth, believe it or not. Like, I've been trying to get people to make this realization that the religions, the raw religions, are just taking from mythology. And the mythology, again, is tying back to the cosmology. It's tying back to the cosmos and our observance of the night stars. And then also these things called planets, right? Which are clearly tied back to the mythology as well by name. So mythology, as above, so below, it's just teaching you about your body. Your body is what you made into the mythology. Your body is what you made into the stars, the constellations. This is your body. So this is the best place to hide a secret, is on you, not outside of you. All right. And people have it twisted. They're thinking the opposite way. And this is why I have sometimes beef with astrologers, because like they try to make it externalized, but it's like, no, it was you first. You were the source. You're this dark, black sun, if you will. You're the source of the energy, the chaos, the all, and everything comes from the mind of man. It's like you haven't tapped into the conversation with the dolphins yet to be like, is that Andromeda or is that Jupiter? You haven't made any contact with anything outside of other humans for your awareness and beliefs. All right. And I don't see a bunch of kangaroos out there with like AR just lighting up cities,
It'd be terrifying.
Like, sometimes I wish they would, but anyways, like it's like clear to me that humans are under the human condition and have this inability to realize that it's all of the human mind. The human mind is what's designing this whole thing we experience every day, everything from law to money, all of it, right? The food systems, logistics, policies, all of it. It's coming back to the human experience, and therefore all of it is emanating from you. And when you get to the esoteric side of things and you start learning about things like mythology, you start learning about Gematria, numerology, or astrology, you start learning about all of these things, Once you make it outside of you, you're dropping the ball. It's always within you. All of the naming systems of everything comes back to just dissecting the human body. And that's what the Bible is teaching you. That's what all holy text is teaching you. The Jordan River is just the spine. There's all these parts of the body, the lungs, kidneys, eyes, thalamus, all of it. It's then presented outside of you into the names of these places on earth. Then they become chakras to the so-called New Age. And it's just, we're all touching the same part of the elephant. Like you said, it's just, we're having a communication barrier for some reason. And I believe the if I could come to the solution of it all, it's the communication barrier is stop making it outside of you. It's all within you, as above, so below, as within, so without. It's here. It's right there. You can't see it because you're tricked into this idea that it's out. It's out. And this, again, has changed my whole perspective and worldview, because when I look at things like astrology, I don't need to spend as much time looking into charts or anything, because I know the mythology, and the mythology, again, just comes back to a part of self. So you were talking before about all this bull stuff, all the stuff with the cows, and this is cerebellum, bull, Baal. This is all coming back to movement. It's just the part of the brain that's allowing such, it's your movement. Mobility. You need that in order to be not a vegetable. So that is a big part of our experience of being a human, is exploration. It's movement. It comes back to that particular part of the brain. Series, we talk about that. Bull, Baal, Bel, Bill. This is where we get the money. Again, all coming back to currency, as you spoke about earlier. It's all in the words. So we made the words. The human made everything that we're dealing with today. They made your Bibles. They made your Dead Sea Scrolls. We were the ones that made it all. So if you know the human condition, it will allow you to have more access to the utility of all of this knowing, instead of being enslaved by it, which it seems to be that most people are unconsciously. They don't even know that they're wearing the shackles. They don't even know that they're being whipped around by the matador.
It's that David Icke quote, what a better prison than the one where you can't touch and feel the bars. And you're touching on what
that's a bar.
Yeah. The word became the flesh, right, John? And
exactly.
Then we learned that the Rosicrucians were using that verse to transcend to other dimensions and altered states of consciousness. Very, very interesting, dude. And yeah, I love everything you said about that. And we came full circle, not weaponizing this information, not self-sabotaging with this information. Have fun, exist within this matrix that we're in. Be aware that you're in a matrix. Worry about the things you can control versus the things you can't control, right? Because a lot of people are stuck in that feedback loop. And as we wrap up here, dude, if you have and if you want, do you have any predictions as to where we're going? Anything on your mind? Or the numbers saying something? Do you think this whole Diddy thing is a distraction from something else?
Yeah.
What can you leave the people with to, ponder on for the next, we'll wait 2 years to get together again?
Oh no, let's definitely not. That we'll be back together soon for sure. Is doom and gloom okay? Because I could say some positive things, but if I need to be 100% honest, I could tell you some connections that I made specifically for next year that could be valuable to know, regardless if they're not the most positive.
Keep it 100, bro.
Okay. Well, next year is the year of the snake. The United States of America has a pattern where it always goes into big significant wars during the year of the snake, such as World War I. They entered during the year of the snake. World War II, they entered that war during the year of the snake. The Vietnam War, they entered that during the year of the snake. The war in Afghanistan, or the invasion of Afghanistan, that was during the year of the snake. And I suspect that this current thing we're calling World War III, we will have America, the United States of America's military, boots on the ground, and actually they'll wait to call it World War III until America gets in, and that will be during the year of the snake, which is right around the corner. It starts at the end of January 2025. I'm not saying they will be in at the January timeframe. It could very well be March, April. That's a thing I'm putting my feelers into if I had to predict exactly the time frame. Or it's likely to be specifically after the September 7th total lunar eclipse in 2025. There's a lot of importance behind that. So if you want to know more about that kind of stuff, I mean, I talk about it regularly on my channel, even though I do cover cryptocurrency and investing. And then I could kind of finish this off with a potentially positive thing, which is the stock market and crypto and all assets are likely to continue their bull run into whatever that event is in March. So lots of going on with the Federal Reserve and interest rates, and that means money is going to be ritualized soon. And the average everyday person doesn't know much about any of this finance stuff. They kind of just learn it all from the mainstream media. So if I can share some motivation right now, it's get your money straight soon. Do not be one of those people that doesn't have a backup plan. We're about to go into a recession in 2025, likely at some time, and the market will correct because of that. But from now until then, there's this gap of time, to get educated, to get aware, and to be focused, because I believe that artificial intelligence and robotics will be even more prevalent in the workforce in 2025. Self-driving cars will replace things like Uber and Lyft. There's already technologies out there that have been designed to do such things. And I don't worry for humanity, but I'm giving you all like the straight shooter info right now. If you were somebody that lost your job or you were laid off because of what happened with C-19 and you picked up gig work after that, such as Lyft or Uber or any of that, please come up with a backup plan and don't be reliant on such a service. Like, I get it. There will always be people coming in the airport that you'll need to pick up. But and I'm not trying to demean you or say that that particular job you're doing right now is a bad job. I'm just saying it's a job that's like standing on glass toothpicks, and it will be replaced very soon. And you need to get savvy on that, because the normal jobs that everyone had that you were laid off from, that's not coming back. And then these gig jobs, the technocrats have already come up with a solution to reduce their labor on that front. And then when there's some financial disruptions, naturally we're going to have chaos, just like we had in 2008. So I see that also being a thing. So for the people that are looking to refinance or any of that, the Fed just made a decision to cut interest rates. That's probably the time to do it. Don't wait like the people did in 2008. And then we had that up event occur in housing. We all know everything is super inflated. And if what I'm saying right now is foreign to you, then definitely you need to get educated on this, because this is not a joke. This is '08 on steroids. It's C-19 on steroids. Like, everything that they've done from the 2020 policy regarding finance, it's going to be masked by war and all these other distractions that are coming up. So yes, the Diddy thing and several other things have been, and the elections, they're all distractions, because whoever gets put in power, they're going to follow whatever the policy of the central bankers is, or BlackRock. No president has any power in this. I don't care what power you think they have. You need to wake up to this financial side of things, because we're about to go through a shift. I would not be surprised if by 2026 we have UBI. Not in America just yet, but like UBI starting to soft rollout. And it'll be because of the implications of artificial intelligence and robotics.
What's UBI?
Universal basic income.
Yikes.
So that'll be the solution to the so-called problem.
Yeah.
And maybe me and you could get together soon and just kind of talk that talk, if you think that that'll have utility for your listeners, to talk more about like that vision. Because I know we talked about a lot of other things today, but let's reconnect maybe next month or something. I'd definitely be down to chat again, and we could talk finance, because we have a very powerful solar eclipse coming up in about a week. And a lot of people were focused on the Great American Eclipse that happened on April 8th. Like, everyone, even like there was stuff going around talking about how military was prepared. Did you hear about any of this?
No, I don't watch the news, dude.
Well, it was a total solar eclipse for the United States of America. So naturally, if you're in any of the areas of totality, you're going to hear about. Right? Yeah, it formed an X over the state of Texas, and anyways, just to cut to it, everyone was focused on the April eclipse. My belief is that it's really that October eclipse to look out for. So it's just right around the corner. I think from a financial perspective, things are going to be really dope. But from a war perspective, it's going to get even spicier. There's probably going to be more involvement from other nations such as Lebanon and Egypt. And this is just going to expand more and more to the year of the snake. And if I go into the financial side of things, there's a clear pattern with the snake year. I mean, 1929 started the Great Depression. When that bubble popped, it was the year of the snake.
Wow, dude. Yeah, that it'd be interesting to see how Quetzalcoatl plays into that, right? The feathered serpent and the Mesoamerican civilizations and how they if they had anything going on, if they did. I know that eclipses were used for predicting war, predicting bad omens, and they weren't looked at as a good thing. And there is such thing as solar eclipse induced psychosis, which I did a short on. So there's studies regarding that they did back in the 70s or 80s, dude, where they were studying people and the effects that these things had on them. But
and the last solar eclipse that we had in April, that was not the sun that got eclipsed. There was so many videos, like not just one, like you showed before with that example of like ordering sunlight to that. There was so many videos out there of people that were putting the even like a welding helmet in front of the iPhone camera could show you this. And there was two suns. There was the sun that was quote unquote being eclipsed, and then there was the actual sun to the far corner. And this was visible. This was visible from many videos, not just one. So it's not like just cherry picked viral TikTok or something.
It's an optical illusion, dude. It's a camera angle, the flare.
It's bouncing off the firmament. But yeah, so I mean, I think if everyone can take a chance could take a moment to rewatch that Leave the World Behind video, you'll see that they were showing you eclipses throughout that movie, multiple eclipses throughout that movie. And I think that was big kind of, and you know, it was produced by the Obamas. So these aren't idiots. These are alchemists that are just showing you what they're about to try. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're going to move into like a civil war, civil unrest thing. But the fact that this was the year of the dragon and the mythology behind the eclipse is tied to the dragon. It's the dragon swallows the sun. And this is your eclipse. This is the Chinese mythology. So we had that powerful eclipse this year, April 8th. I know maybe it's not as real as it seems, but they ritualized it for a reason. And these eclipses, from the perspective of not only these ancient outlooks like you brought up, but also from the solid astrologers, they know that it's a pulsing effect, like a ripple of time. So it's not the day of the eclipse that the problems are. It's this kind of ripple effect of how it's working forwards and backwards. So I know there's probably so many things that we could get into on this, and this is what I specialize in most, so it's exciting for me to talk about. But yeah, October eclipse coming up. We have a very, very important total lunar eclipse, March 13th of 2025, during the year of the snake. That'll be the start of a lunar cycle. I'm almost certain that there's going to be a March event, and if Trump does get in, then we're just working in that ripple effect of time idea. With him, I think we'll get an event in March. Just like we watched him win against a female his first time. Now he is again going against a female. It's this black and white square card that I brought up at the very beginning with Diddy and Epstein. If he is to win, they're going to do everything in reverse. So what I mean by that is he got hit with a March event at the end of his presidency. I think it's going to be if he wins, he's going to be hit with an event immediately at the start of his presidency, similar to Obama. It's going to be like that. So this kind of political theater, is very much to cloak up the financial. It's like the economy is sort of like an obese, diseased animal that's getting ready to keel over. And their solution to all of this will be things like central bank digital currencies and universal basic income and potentially even social credit. These are all things down the pipeline, but they need chaos. They need an event, right? No different than 9/11 or no different than C-19 or no different than the Kennedy or whatever. They're going to use an event that's what you want to look out for. So I'll be decoding more of that over the next couple months. But all in all, I'm actually pretty positive for everywhere outside of that Israel hot zone. I'm pretty positive all the way until March. I just think 2025 March moving forward is going to be some issues, and you're definitely going to want to have the money stuff straightened out.
Get your money shot straight. You heard it directly from the Esoteric Dr. Phil here on the One Podcast. As always, killing it, dude. Let people know where they can find your work, where they can sub to the Patreon and all that good stuff, so they can learn more of. Because you're a black belt in this, and you go hard in the paint. Where can people go?
I appreciate you, man. Well, check out the YouTube channel, YouTube at Waters Above. And then in the description box of the videos, I have all my links. I would appreciate anyone signing up to Patreon, patreon.com/watersabove. I only have one membership, and in that you unlock all of my exclusive content. I've done about 180 podcasts now. I do a weekly podcast on the markets, and I also have a live stream archive with over 150 live streams. Most of them are about 2 to 3 hours each. So just that alone is insane amount of content that's unlocked. And it also comes with a Discord community. So for those people that want to come hang out with other like-minded thinkers, it's a pretty amazing community we have, because it's built upon my essence and my vibe of trying to avoid the drama, trying to avoid the fanaticism and the worship, and getting too overly consumed about these cultural moments happening on the world stage. So it's an incredibly level-headed community full of people that are interested in the occult and esoterica. So that's, again, over at Patreon. And YouTube channel, I'm usually putting out a video every week, and then that live stream on Saturdays.
Yeah, make sure you name your next live stream the Esoteric Hour with the Esoteric Dr. Phil Alchemical Hour or something like that. So
yeah, absolutely, man. I'm playing on that from now on. That's hilarious. I don't know if you watch. I don't watch it too often, but this Kill Tony.
Yeah, I watch it every now and again.
Yeah. The one that they did with Adam Ray, where he plays Dr. Phil, is amazing. Like, he is super funny comedian, Adam Ray. Shout out to Adam Ray. I'm sure he's listening to One on One podcast.
He did the Biden. He does the Biden character too.
Amazing,
right?
Dude. That was so funny.
Yeah, Shane Gillis killed the Trump impersonation. If you listen to it on the radio, you can't even tell it's not him.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest moments in comedy history. I think that will definitely go down, because it wasn't cheesy at all. It was like they played those characters perfectly.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And yeah, check me out at the One Podcast on all social media platforms, tjojp.com. Live on Twitch every Tuesday night. Check me out on there. The Occultist Monday, Homunculus Owner's Manual, all that good stuff. Links down in the description. Waters came, conquered, he killed it. And as always, everyone, catch you on the other side.